It started as one of those dreamy road trips, a meandering escape from the monotony of my 9 to 5. I'd quit my job, sold most of my stuff, and hit the road in my little camper van with my sweet cat Alfie as my co-pilot. It was just me, my cat, and the open road, tracing ribbons of asphalt across America. The plan was simple. No itinerary, no deadlines, just freedom. Somewhere along the way, the Appalachian Mountains called my name, and I decided to park near the trail for a few days of peace. The spot I found was idyllic, or so I thought. It was tucked into a grove of towering pines, with the Appalachian Trail weaving nearby like a thread through an old tapestry. The air was cool and smelled like moss and earth, and I felt like a pioneer discovering some uncharted corner of the world. After a day of hiking, I returned to my van with aching legs and a happy heart. Alfie greeted me with his usual loving meow, demanding to be picked up and fed. After some hugs and head nuzzles, I fed him, made myself a bowl of chili, and settled into my makeshift bed to read by lantern light. The stillness was incredible. No cars, no city hum, just the occasional hoot of an owl or rustle of the wind. That's when I first noticed the strange smell. It was faint, but unmistakable, like something metallic and sweet. Blood, maybe? I brushed it off as my imagination and tried to focus on my book, but the smell lingered, making my stomach twist. Alfie's ears flattened and he let out a low, uneasy growl. My nerves prickled. "It's just a deer or something," I mumbled, more to reassure myself than Alfie, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were not alone. That night, Alfie was on edge and I didn't sleep well. The van, usually my cozy little cocoon of safety, felt more like a fragile tin can. I kept waking up, sure I had heard something. A branch snapping, the faint crunch of footsteps. I peeked out the windows, but the forest was just a wall of black. Alfie curled up against me, his fur bristling. By morning, I convinced myself it was nothing. I decided to explore the area, sticking to well-marked trails. The sun was bright, the forest alive with birdsong, and I started to feel silly for being so spooked last night. That was until I crossed paths with a man. He was older, with a face weathered like tree bark and eyes that didn't quite match his friendly smile. He wore a faded plaid shirt and carried a rusty hatchet slung casually over his shoulder. We exchanged the usual pleasantries, but there was something about him that made my skin crawl. "You camping around here?" he asked, his tone just a shade too curious. I hesitated. "Just passing through," I lied. His smile widened. "Not a lot of folks come up this way. It's quiet, you know? Real peaceful." "Yeah, that's what I was looking for," I said, gripping my hiking poles a little tighter. He nodded, lingering a beat too long before continuing down the trail. As soon as he was out of sight, I turned back toward the van, my heart thudding. When I got back, something felt off. The side door was ajar, though I wasn't sure I'd locked it. Inside, things had been moved. Not much, just little things. My mug was on the counter instead of the sink, and Alfie's litter box had been shifted a few inches. My stomach dropped. Someone had been in here. I grabbed my pepper spray and did a thorough check, but whoever it was had gone. I double-checked the locks and told myself that I'd leave in the morning. But as night fell, that metallic smell returned, stronger this time, clinging to my clothes and hair. Alfie hissed, his tail puffed like a bottle brush. Around midnight, I heard it. Not just the imagined sounds of the forest, but something deliberate. Footsteps, heavy, purposeful, circling the van. Alfie's growls turned to low, guttural yowls as the footsteps stopped just outside the driver's side door. I held my breath, clutching the pepper spray like it was a lifeline. And then, silence. The kind that's so loud it feels like a weight on your chest. Minutes dragged into hours, and I finally drifted into a restless sleep, jerking awake at every little sound. By dawn, I was so ready to leave. But when I opened the door, I froze. There were handprints on the van, smudged and greasy, like someone had run their fingers along the windows, and on the hood was something worse. A small pile of animal bones arranged in a crude circle. My stomach churned, but I forced myself to clean it up, tossing the bones into the woods before starting the engine. I needed to get out of here. But the van wouldn't start. The battery was dead, though I'd checked it just a day ago. Panic bubbled in my chest as I tried and failed to get it going. I was stranded. I spent the day trying to flag down hikers, but no one passed by. The isolation pressed in on me, the forest now feeling less like a haven and more like a trap. That night, I barricaded the doors with everything I could find. A folding chair, a cooler, even Alfie's litter box. I kept a kitchen knife within arm's reach and huddled under my blankets, praying for the morning. The smell came back, thicker than ever, and with it, a low, guttural humming. It wasn't an animal. It sounded human, but wrong, like someone was trying to mimic a song they'd never heard. The sound moved closer, circling the van, and then something heavy slammed against the side. Alfie screeched and darted under the bed as I grabbed the knife, my heart pounding. The van rocked as whatever it was slammed into it again, harder this time. And then, nothing. I stayed awake until the first rays of sunlight pierced through the trees. When I finally opened the door, I saw it. Deep gouges in the metal, like claw marks, and a message scrawled in what looked like ash across the windshield. It said, "Leave." I didn't need to be told twice. I spent the day rigging a makeshift solar charger I'd brought on a whim, praying it would give the battery enough juice to start the engine. By late afternoon, I tried again, and the van roared to life. Relief washed over me as I threw my stuff into the back and prepared to leave. As I pulled onto the narrow dirt road, I saw him again. The man from the trail, standing at the edge of the woods, watching me with the same unsettling smile. This time, the hatchet wasn't slung casually over his shoulder. It was in his hand, the blade glistening in the fading light. I didn't stop. My hand shook as I gripped the wheel, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds. It wasn't until I was miles away, back on a main road, that I let out the breath I'd been holding. I wish I could say that was the end of it, but when I stopped at a gas station to fill up, I noticed something chilling. On the back of the van, etched into the dirt, was a single word: soon. I drove through the night, not stopping until I was well beyond the Appalachian Trail. To this day, I don't know what I encountered out there. A deranged local? Something else? All I know is that Alfie and I escaped with our lives, and one hell of a story. And now, every time I get into my van, I check the locks twice and keep Alfie close, just in case.